Kyle Cruz. Okay, we'll use his tweet as a vehicle. So there's many people out there that are there. That was fast. Talking about like, oh, this, this is a negative thing. The HEX inflation, like nobody's going to want to stake long term anymore and things like that. So let's take a look at a contrasting view. And this isn't like unique to him. I mean, we've seen other people saying this and things like that as well. He says, hey, Paul Shane, before celebrating the OA staking and killing yield, don't forget that there is still an estimated 232 trillion, that an estimated 200 is HEX yield to be paid
billion.
out.
That's billion.
Oh, yeah, my bad. Yeah, over the next 15 years, I personally think the OA staking did more damage than good. Why? The OA was supposed to be getting diluted over time. The OA decided it's going to cut rates whenever it wants. Is the exact same as the contract having admin keys. I don't know if I'd say that's the exact same. It has essentially made staking pointless, which was the beauty of HEX to begin with. I don't agree with that either. The problem is buyers, simple as that. We are still going to have 232 billion in assumed sell pressure spread out over the next 15 years. That is essentially 50% of the total supply, worth 3.7 billion at today's prices. Is that the whole thing? I don't know. So yeah, go ahead and respond to that, because and he's not the only one. Again, we've seen other people say similar things out there, maybe not with like breaking the numbers down and things like that. I do one thing I will say, like with all this supply shock stuff, while it is unbelievably bullish with every token I think in the ecosystem, we do still need like people to come in, obviously. And obviously you think that's going to happen. I think this is a huge catalyst, but people are going to come in. But yeah, how do you respond to this though?
Well, first of all, this is a completely fabricated thought. I'm not a big fan of either way, but 232 billion HEX paid out over the next 15 years. Well, first of all of the inflation is set to come out at a certain time, if and only if people honor what they said they were going to do. They said they were going to lock it up for 15 years. They lock it up for 15 years. They end the stake at that time. If by any chance the price of HEX goes crazy and they emergency end stake it at 7 years, well, half of that yield just got thrown out to all the other stakers. That could be at that point 15 years, right? So a lot of this is going to be kicked down the road for so long that we will never see half of this. I would be my guess. So you may have 100 billion out there that people get, and people, over the next 15 years. But again, over half of this, I would almost be willing to bet large sums of money that it's going to be thrown out to people that continue to stake long term, and a lot of it will never see the light of day. Whether people, lose their keys, whether they pass on, and no one has access to it anymore. There's going to be so many things where a lot of this just disappears. And honestly, I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, yes, the OA is supposed to get diluted, and there's a reason why this was done, and it was because of people, and maybe he's one of them. Maybe he was a dumper of the tokens. Like I said, the people that yell the loudest are usually the ones that are doing what's wrong with it, and they get upset. So just my thoughts. Again, a lot of this stuff would never see the light of day, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too. Those are kind of imaginary scenarios that I don't think you can just with a broad brush paint and say that that's what's going to happen. Yeah, I understand the frustration with like some of the long-term yield and things like that, but I do think no matter what, I mean, you are making the asset more scarce. And not only that, but we are seeing, I just sent you a DM now, these 7-day stakes are coming due now. So I just saw the HEX alerts tweeted one of those big 7 days just came due tonight, actually. So it is going to be interesting. We'll see what happens with those short-term ones that we've seen from that wallet. What happens with those next? Yeah, there you go. I assume that was one of them with the size of it. So, and it being 7 days. So we're going to see a lot of those coming to an end. And do you have any guesses as to what may happen there? I mean, do you think these will continue to be rolling and maybe just like checking to see what ETH is doing over time and continue rolling them, or what may happen here?
Yeah, I think as we'll see them kind of rollover as needed, I think, to
Mhm.
maintain whatever. I mean, I think you're going to try to find a happy medium with it. You know, you may, if the idea was to cut it from 7 down to 3.5, well, you might not see all of this get restaked. We know that the OA has never sold, so there's another 60 million hex that goes in that is gone pretty much forever, or not going to be dumped. So
Mhm.
that's not a bad thing. I do think they'll kind of adjust it though, as to try and maybe get it back to about half as a halvening, per se. So go from 7 to 3.5 and try and keep it there. So
Mhm.
just my thought. I have no idea what they'll do. I wish I had that kind of playbook, to know them well enough, but I don't. So we're just gonna have to keep an eye on it. But my initial thought was they're probably going to try to have it, at least take it from 8 to 4, 7 to 3.5, or something like that.